G'day team, welcome to my first time-lapse video. So, here we are at the starting point, which is just a line drawing, which has been prepared by the company's director. It's the design's gone through some very preliminary hand sketch processes, and then it's eventually at a point where it's ready to come to life, in which time it comes to me. So, this video is just going to be showing everything that I do to get it from just a line drawing of that was prepared in AutoCAD, so a DWG format, into a fully fleshed out 3D model, which gets rendered at the end and turns out to be quite a nice design. So the first things that you saw me do there were to import the DWG and then start tracing out the walls and putting in some floors. Next, we bring in the contours. So I look up on the council website to see what's going on site. This one turns out to be quite a steep property, so there's a lot of contours to put in. No survey has been completed at this stage, so it's unfortunately for me, it's just manually creating a fair amount of falls. So I've traced the contour map. Now I can use that to actually put in the topography, so individual topo points along each contour. This process does take a hot minute, which is why we love it when they get a survey prepared, but you know, can't have everything you want. So now that I've got the ground floor kind of modeled up and the topography kind of modeled up, start having a look at it in 3D view to try and assess what's going on with the levels in the design. This one turned out to be quite tricky with the levels. It's a two-story house, but both stories are split levels, so there's really 4 levels to this design, which wasn't apparent when I first started putting the model together, but as I get further through the design, I realise that it's a bit trickier than I'd first assumed. And this process is one of those things where you kind of work it out as you go. Like, you could spend 20 minutes sitting there looking at the line drawing, trying to work out what needs to happen, or you can actually just draw it and work it out as you go. There's no right or wrong, really. So it's in these early stages that I really work on trying to get the levels spot on early on. There's nothing worse than getting too deep into a design and then realizing that the levels aren't set up properly, or you haven't allowed the right amount of space for the design to actually work. But yeah, luckily with this one I was relatively careful, so didn't trip myself up too badly. Okay, I'm relatively happy with downstairs at this point, so start putting upstairs together. I think this is exactly where I realised that upstairs is in fact split level as well, and the job just became a fair bit more complicated. But it's nothing we can't handle, so just a bunch of extra levels, and just being very careful with associating all of these different walls and doors and everything to their proper levels, because it's very important to do that. You do not want to be hosting walls and doors on levels that they aren't actually meant to be on, because that's just a recipe for disaster. start to put the rooms in here and actually like bring the floor plan to life a little bit, so it's not just walls. Because it was a line drawing prepared by our director, I know that the spaces are all going to work, but this is around when you'd be checking out that, you know, spaces like toilets and bathrooms and hallways and, you know, doors at the end of hallways have had the proper allowances made so they actually work. And in order to do that, you often have to put in a bunch of components and doors and windows, and you really have to start fleshing out the floor plan to work out if it's going to work or not. So I had a bit of trouble here with when you do split level houses, the room tags don't like to cooperate sometimes, because rooms need to be in a well-defined box to work, and sometimes if you don't have a level which a wall which actually runs down to the lower level, it's going to think that there's this big gap underneath the upper level. It's not too complicated. I think there was something not quite right with one or two of my walls, which is why it was a bit tricky to get those rooms to work. Sorry, room tags, should I say. Eventually we get past that little roadblock and continue on. But yeah, these floor plans are really starting to come together now. It's incredibly useful to go into 3D view and really pan around and have a look at the tricky little construction details, like that cantilever at the back. That would be really difficult to work out using a program like AutoCAD, whereas something like Revit, where you can actually have a look in 3D and pan around and visualize how it should go together, it's just so much better. I don't know how AutoCAD lived for so long. You can see putting in windows here takes so long to do sometimes, because it just needs to think, like, to have a good window family, it's got to have a heap of components and parts inside it, and, you know, variable parameters, and yeah, they're just really bulky families, generally speaking. So I've never found a way of having a really quick window family which is also very adaptable. Outdoor kitchens are a very popular thing in Queensland because the weather is so good most of the year. At the moment it's August, so it's cold outside, but yeah, most of the year you can spend a lot of your evening out in the alfresco area. Okay, so it's time to put a very rough roof on. At this point, I had no idea what they were actually wanting to achieve with the architectural style of the house, so I just put some generic gable on. I had to talk to our director to work out exactly that they were going for a kind of a postmodern, fancy-looking facade. But yeah, at this stage, I've just thrown something on just so that we can work with anything, you know. Some roof's better than no roof usually. Okay, so we're really getting there with the 3D model now, just of the bulk of the house. So it's probably time to start getting into the site, the earthworks and the retaining walls, because it's such a steep site. They want to have a flat backyard, which means there's going to be some fairly substantial retaining towards the back there. So heavily reliant on 3D views to work this kind of stuff out. Obviously, council contours are not the most accurate and reliable, but it's better than nothing, and more often than not, quite close to what the surveyors actually get. So now we've worked out that it's got to be a postmodern house, which is, parapets, skillion roofs. So we're just going through the process of working out what kind of pitches are going to work, what kind of upstands are going to be required, and how ceilings are going to work. There's a parapet and skillion roof running through the back there, so that's all kind of one plane or face through the backyard, and that roof all falls to the back. But yeah. Starting to put the pool in. We love pools in Queensland. I think everyone loves pools when they live in hot weather though, so we're not exactly special. So I'm just starting to put together the site plan here. So we use a different kind of, a few different layers and lines to, as easily as possible, communicate exactly what's going on with the multi-level situation. And we're indicating our cut and fill there, so you can see which of the contours we're working to. Very important to have cut and fill lines, especially on steep sites like this. So just starting to put in a few more components and just tidying up some lines and the general appearance of the lower floor plan, because there was a bit going on when I was first putting it together. Putting in your doors and window tags and component tags, just to get a preliminary sense of what's in each space. It's not like full working drawings where it would be like a window and door schedule and just flooded with notes, but yeah, at this stage we've just got to say, oh, that's an 820 door, and this is your cooktop, there's your toilet, etc, etc. Something that's probably a bit hard to grasp from watching this, but in order to put this kind of thing together, you have to have a fairly comprehensive understanding of how much space each part of a house requires. So, what's the minimum space that a toilet can be? How much space does a door swing need? What's the average or the minimum width of a vanity, depth of a vanity? it takes a lot of experience to get to this stage. I'm not saying I'm good or anything. I have been doing this for 10 years, so I can be given a simple line drawing like this and just run and just put it all the way through to a full completed set of preliminary drawings. But someone who's just starting out in this industry would initially have a very hard time working out which room is which. You know, working out the laundry from the bathroom when there's no components or anything in there. So just something to think about, I guess. All right, now we are into some basic elevations. We're going to hide all of these notes because we don't need them. They just need to be blank elevations for now, just to communicate the form of the building really and what's going on with the land. Cut and fill, and retaining walls. We love retaining walls. So now I'm just doing a bit of modification of the topography. So obviously the council contours are rough, and then by the time you actually get in there with all of like your diggers and equipment, the land is going to change a fair bit anyway. So these things have always got a certain amount of margin of error. So, you know, if there's a difference between something being neat on your drawing and not, there's usually no harm in moving one topography point a little to either side. But yeah, just going through and putting some fences and just tidying up the retaining walls now, so it's really starting to look like a complete house at this point. Putting in the driveway here, so driveway's not too steep, luckily. It falls more towards the back of the site, it looks like. So driveway gradients are pretty important. I probably double checked that it was going to work early on, but there's nothing worse than siting a house, drawing some plans, and then working out that the driveway is actually too steep, because that's an issue. So as part of the architectural style they're going for here, they wanted us to put some breeze blocks in. So we didn't have a breeze block component, so I actually had to make one. But I think I'll get back to that in a minute. Yeah, this was actually not too bad to do, so it was a bit of fun just working out how to, not so much working out, like I know how to do this stuff, but you have to do it so few and far between. You're kind of like, what was that command again? Do I do this or do I do that? So yeah, it turned out pretty good, I think, and it's nice having this saved in the library now, so we can just use it at any point in the future as our leisure. Annoyingly, when I placed this, it hosted to the floor. So then when I copied it over, it hosted to the topography. So when I moved it over, it moved up with the land, so it didn't move like level with the ones next to it. So there was a bit of fiddling to get it to disassociate from what it wanted me to place it on, and then actually just cooperate and copy across and be level with each other. But yeah, so now we're putting the more of the facade together. Sometimes it feels like 80% of the job is actually tweaking the facade, like doing the walls and doors and windows and everything. That's kind of the easy part, because the facade is what the client spends the most of the time looking at. So luckily the design's good. So now we've brought the job into Enscape, which is it's separate to Revit, but it works within Revit. It's different to other rendering engines like Twinmotion and Lumion, which kind of work separately to Revit, but this one just pops up as a window next to Revit, and can't work without Revit. I find it very, 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 very easy to use, and it's very quick to put a really nice image together. Yeah, very impressed with Enscape. I've been using it for about a year, so. There's a bunch of things that make a huge difference, like using HDRIs for the sky, and that kind of thing, which they don't tell you about, but it makes a big difference. So there's a bunch of other YouTube content about how to up your Enscape game that I've been referencing over the past year. But yeah, I think this turned out pretty well. So this is where we left it on the day that I finished recording, just about. I think I did a little bit more tweaking of the facade, just trying to get the sun angle and that camera right. Putting a little bit of foliage in, trying to make it look not too fake by having different sizes next to each other. So this is what it kind of looks like in Revit as well. I'm going back and forth here. So you place the trees and the plants and everything within Revit, and then it will just show up in Enscape. So putting a few site dimensions on here just to see where we are with setbacks, and then yeah, after a little more tweaking, we finished with what I consider to be a pretty cool looking facade. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully I'll make a few more of these in the future, because it was actually really easy to just press record and just do my thing. And now I'm just sitting here telling you all what happened. So yeah, thanks for watching as always, and yeah, talk to you soon. Cheers, bye.